Welcome back to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to say that Battlefield 2042 should have been free.
Yeah, that's not even a satirical piss take like we usually open these episodes with. Bruce literally called this 4 months ago.
I've been saying they have to make it free to play, or else that's it. Like, this game's gonna die just like 5 and 1 and all sorts of. It's just, I just hope they don't. They gotta make it.
Right, I did. I was saying Hazard Zone should be free to play because I knew Battlefield was gonna launch so bad.
Yeah, it really could have used some kind of free mode. That would have eased the burden a little bit, but EA ignored our sage advice, and now the rest of the world knows. Ignore Inside Games at your own peril.
Well, better late than never, though, as a new rumor suggests that EA is considering making Battlefield 2042 free to play, but in some capacity.
That might be the one saving grace for this very sad game that launched with a severe lack of features and modes that are usually included in the Battlefield franchise. Not to mention the bugs and stability problems that are usually included in the Battlefield franchise, so it's bad both ways, really.
The rumor that we wish EA had thought of a year ago started on January 20th with recurring industry leaker Tom Henderson, who's very reliable. He tweeted that, quote, EA is reportedly very disappointed with how Battlefield 2042 has performed and is looking at all the options when it comes to the title. This is including looking at free-to-play in some capacity.
Yeah, the wording is a little confusing, at least to me, given that nobody really reported it yet, so it can't really be a reportedly... it doesn't matter. Henderson does have a track record of plausible info leaks, though, and this rumor in particular does pass the instant bullshit test that most rumors pretty much fail.
Absolutely, yeah. Henderson followed up the tweet with a full YouTube video 3 days later on January 23rd, which includes commentary from industry analysis and a lawyer to include more perspective on the topic. Definitely check that video out if you want the additional context. Links in the description. But here are the news beats for the sake of this story.
Yeah, for starters, Henderson specifies that EA is in no way considering making the entire game free, as that would obviously be a PR nightmare. Since Henderson himself tweeted that the game sold 4.2 million copies in its first week in December 2021.
Lawrence, I spent $110 on that game. If they make it free to play, I'm a scream.
It's tough to think about everyone that spent money on it and then it turns free just like months later. So that's I don't know how they could possibly pull that off.
A move like that would also imply that EA would have to extend refunds to me and lots of other people that all purchased the game, which would amount to giving away hundreds of millions of revenue. Knowing EA, if that happens, we'll know for sure that aliens have body snatched every last executive of the company because EA never, ever would do that.
But there are individual modes that could work as free to play, as Henderson reports.
From my understanding, they are potentially looking at making Portal free to play in some capacity.
So unfortunately, Henderson's source couldn't provide any more information on that subject, which kind of makes sense if EA has only begun researching the option at this point.
And like we mentioned before, there is another mode in Battlefield 2042 besides the traditional Conquest mode and Portal, but they're not looking at Hazard Zone because nobody's looking at Hazard Zone.
If only I think that if they maintained Hazard Zone a little better, they could have made this a little free-to-play thing as the entry level to Battlefield, but they blew it. In his report, Tom Henderson cites DICE EA developer and saying that there are, quote, only a few hundred people playing Hazard Zone at any one given time out of the 40 to 50,000 active players in the game. He also clarified that these numbers were a couple of weeks old at the time of reporting.
And let me tell you, those numbers aren't getting better as time goes on. As usual, we only have circumstantial data to go off of. It's not like EA's out there giving us a running tally of just how quickly this game is sinking to the bottom of the ocean, but what we can see doesn't look good.
Reset Airman Her Theory noticed on January 25th that Battlefield 2042 has disappeared from the Xbox's top 50 most played charts in the US region, noting that it still charts in the UK, but has been dropping these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, Steam numbers aren't very healthy either. We can see those, thank you open APIs. The game rang in the new year with a peak player count of over 17,000. Unfortunately, we're not even done with January yet, and the peak player count for Wednesday, January 26th was just 5,000. Put that another way, the game's lost over half its players already, and we're not even out of the first month of 2022. But that is only on Steam, for what that's worth.
Yeah, because they've got Origin and Xbox and PlayStation, etc. But it doesn't look good. From the looks of it, Battlefield 2042 is dead in the water, and its only hope for life is an infusion of new players by converting a chunk of Portal into free-to-play. Just like I predicted. I didn't say Portal, I said Hazard Zone, but they needed something to get people in.
Well, we didn't even know what Portal was at the time, and maybe Bruce would have been double correct. if he had had a complete understanding of how Portal would play out. What's fascinating to me about this story is that it kind of is indicative of the shooter market in total. Now, not the fact that they're all kind of unfinished and overpriced piles of crap, but really, the multiplayer shooter as a whole right now, it seems that in general, games can't stay above water without adding some kind of free experience to get new players in.
This has been a thing for a long time with video games, at least the last 10 years. Halo Infinite serves as a great point of comparison here. It also launched with the lack of modes and features commonly expected in a Halo franchise game, and while series fans have been vocal about their disappointment in that regard, Xbox recently announced that the game's already attracted over 20 million players. Man, it's a lot. And it's on fewer platforms than Battlefield. 20 million people playing.
The good news is, if you consider this good news, EA themselves seem to have finally gotten that message. VentureBeat reports that they are not moving forward with a DICE-developed Star Wars Battlefront 3, which launches under that Battlefield model. $60, tons of monetization off the tail end of it. In fact, they're handing that property over, Star Wars, over to a developer that already struggled to get a 4K shooter off the ground until they made it free. That's Respawn Entertainment.
Yeah, Apex Legends, which is honestly a constant success story. It's only gotten bigger and bigger and better and better. So great job, Respawn. The announcement included confirmation of 3 Star Wars games. First, there's the currently untitled sequel to 2019's Jedi Fallen Order, which I cannot wait for. I'm so excited for Jedi Fallen Order 2. A new first-person shooter from the team that made the VR title Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. And finally, a turn-based tactics game in collaboration with BitReactor, a studio formed just over a week ago by former XCOM developers.
So if we take all that at face value, if we just say, oh, game like other game, which is a bit of a stretch, but let's just say that for the sake of argument, we've got a sequel to an action-adventure game that had no DLC. Jedi Fallen Order is just you buy it and you play the game and have fun. We got a VR game, ostensibly, which they largely don't monetize because the player base isn't big enough. And then an XCOM-style Star Wars tactical game, which sounds badass, but also not a hotbed for DLC or extended monetization. None of these sound like the usual EA $60 with DLC after the fact, shake and bake kind of thing. You know, getting Battlefront on day one and not being able to play Darth Vader kind of deal. So who knows? This indicates that the market, and especially the response to Battlefield 2042, may indicate that the market is finally burnt out on buying low-effort games with intrusive monetization.
Hey, we can only hope, Lawrence. That'd be amazing if EA finally got the message, huh?
Yeah, or really, it's just that the revenue's kind of dried up, so they got to go to other pastures. But praise God that the easy money's gone.
It turns out when you vote with your wallet, they actually listen. That's what happened.
So if Battlefield 2042 was the last sort of $60 unfinished crap pile that EA puts out, I wonder if all the Reddit people who went insane, I wonder if they're going to see it as justification of their tactics. It does seem to be sales, though. Sales and player retention are just in the toilet, as they kind of ought to be honest, given the state of the game. So we'll see who claims ultimate victory, but really it's the money that talks.
Well, going free-to-play is not a magic solution, though. As Ubisoft just announced on January 27th, they are closing down the game we all played forever and ever and ever, Hyperscape. Close it down April 28th. I played about 2 hours of it, and I went, neat, and moved on.
I installed it, and I think I ran it once or twice, but I actually didn't play around. I don't know, I was pulling for it. I like fast Twitch shooters, but man, Battle Royales, we can give them a rest. It's okay.
So it's not enough to be free, and it's not enough to be good. So you gotta be free and good. And Battlefield 2042 is kind of neither of those things. Again, I've enjoyed the hell out of the game, but it's certainly not free, and a lot of people don't think it's good. So
there's fun to be had there, and I only need some like things blowing up and ragdolls flying around, and it provided that. If I can blow up a plane and maybe fly in one every so often, I'm a happy baby. But I know other people are a lot more discerning, so I get it. And this minus the harassment, maybe this situation turned out like it was kind of supposed to.
Yeah. There are a few games out there mixing up the dynamic a little bit, on PC at least. Co-op SWAT simulator Ready or Not, which Lawrence and I have played many times, seems to have found decent success with current Steam player counts about equaling those of Battlefield 2042. World War II simulation shooter Hell Let Loose, which has been out for years, and they have been patching and getting it and making it better, is showing really healthy and growing player counts as well.
It is worth noting, just based on the comparisons we're making, that neither of those games cost $60, and none of those games, Hell Let Loose or Ready or Not, they can't remotely hit the kinds of player counts that other games are bragging about when they're free. So neither of them even come close to 20 million. So they're just in different leagues with different monetization models. At some point, comparison is going to become a little asinine, but we're just trying to survey the whole marketplace and seeing what works and what doesn't.
You've asked a great question here in the script that I think we're going to try and answer. Sure, the comments will too. Can the market tolerate a $60 first-person shooter? Does Overwatch 2 need to be free? In my opinion, Overwatch 2 does need to be free. They're not going to make it free, but it does. It does need to be.
Yeah, I'm curious about that a lot. Just in terms of examining the marketplace's tolerance for a $60 multiplayer shooter, that seems largely gone, or you have to way over-deliver. And that's kind of what Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 did. It had a really long, pretty good campaign, had great kind of series best multiplayer, and it launched Warzone, which, if you compare the two, not that they're even that comparable, but that almost seems to be like what the game plan is here. You release a product, you see where the fire is, and then you spin that off into its own self-sustaining free-to-play model like Activision did with Warzone. So potentially out of this whole disaster, EA can see Portal, develop that into its own free-to-play service, and then maybe Battlefield will make money again.
It's interesting about Battlefield because I think 2042 with Hazard Zone, they were looking at Tarkov and they're like, hey, I think we can get to Tarkov with sort of our Warzone, where Warzone was Battle Royale, the Hazard Zone would be Tarkov. But the response has been so bad for Hazard Zone, and honestly, generally so bad for Battlefield, that I don't think they know where to go with this game. I don't think they know where to put it free to play, because they need to, and I don't think they wanted to do it this soon, but they've gotta. And I don't. Where do you think they need to go? I really honestly Portal's, I guess, a shot in the dark. Why not?
Yeah, and it seems like the only part of 2042 that has any kind of nostalgia hook to get people in the door. If you promise a Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, a Battlefield Bad Company experience for free, then you might get a lot of people just casually checking the game out because they've missed the good ones. The problem that I see there, if we're trying to think about Portal as a free-to-play product, is how do you even adapt it? What part is free and what part is paid for? You can't really split up the map pool, because then you get a Battlefield 3 DLC problem where everyone only plays the initial maps because the map pool is split. So everyone gets the same maps. Maybe there's like a bonus wacky mode that only free-to-play players can play, but then everyone's going to play that because that's what everybody's matchmaking in. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe just like a battle pass, a tiered battle pass system. Just go full Fortnite with it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, they could also do a battle royale for Portal, where it's all of the different battlefields all together in a 150-player battle royale. I mean, that'd be kind of cool too.
Yeah, from all different eras.
Yeah.
And then you can get special ghillie suits and stuff with your battle pass. Who knows?
Lawrence, you were talking about Overwatch 2 and Overwatch League, and so are they trying to launch Overwatch 2 with Overwatch League?
Yeah, that was the plan. I think when the Overwatch League comes back in April, that's the first time we're going to see Overwatch 2 because they're going to run the league on it. Which, in the context of our conversation, we're kind of talking about what is an audience member, what does a customer need to see out of a multiplayer shooter to spend $60 on it versus the free-to-play offerings that are really, really good right next to it. And it's hard to imagine in a tournament context with high-level players playing these characters that no one knows yet. Ostensibly, we have no idea what it's going to be. But it's hard to imagine that somebody legitimately thinks that that's going to be the point where they convince somebody to pay $60 for Overwatch 2, or $40, or $20. Who knows? To my knowledge, they haven't even announced how they're going to launch it or in what way. So, to me, putting Overwatch 2 in Overwatch League seemed more like some executive of the Overwatch League pounded a table and screamed hard enough until they got that get. Like, that seems more like a gimmick to make people watch Overwatch League than it is to actually sell Overwatch 2 or demonstrate what it's going to be worth to the average gamer.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. And because, I mean, like, I'm so out of the loop on Overwatch in general because I haven't touched it in years, and I haven't wanted to. And Overwatch 2 is the only thing that's going to get me back into that game. But asking $60 for a game that kind of looks like Overwatch 1.5 is going to be a stretch. That's going to be a stretch. So they're going to have to lower the price and just make it free to play.
Yeah, the only thing that would sell me on Overwatch 2 is if there's a astronomically long story-based campaign in the Overwatch universe. That's what I wanted out of Overwatch 1 shortly after playing it. Is that they did have a fun universe with interesting characters and some interesting lore that they would hint at. Got a little bit of that in the events they would run, the co-op PvE stuff, and I thought that was super cool. I would love to see a game based around that kind of gameplay that's more PvE or co-op based, that's more story based, that has longer term like progression mechanics. You're not going to see that at an esports event, but that's just me. That's what would make me pay $60 for something that says Overwatch on the cover. And that's, of course, neglecting the moral peril of doing that at this point with the leadership and all the things that have been going on at Activision Blizzard. So even apart from that, I am really curious, just in general, mine's still in the void about shooters in the AAA space that can charge $60 at retail. It's kind of hard to think about.
No, Halo Infinite, when they were launching free-to-play, and everyone's like, oh no, Halo's going to be free-to-play. That means it's going to be bad. And I was like, no, guys, like, they're way ahead of the curve on this one. They are actually trying to make a really fun free-to-play, because clearly 343 cares about their product. And they're ahead of the market curve on that. I really think that they were, and even though everyone's complaining about they can't get the right helmet, the game is fun. It's fun to play and it's free.
Yeah, it's fun to play and it has players. You can queue. So unfortunately, given the state of games these days, that might be the trade-off. And I hear you. If you don't like what going free-to-play did to the Halo experience, the lack of customization, the lack of modes, the lack of even agency in picking what mode you play sometimes, the trade-off is that people are playing it now. I do see a lot of people on Reddit, of course, making the heavily skewed assertion that a $60 product is missing all these things. Well, the multiplayer is free. Then the response is, well, no one asked for it to be free. Response to that is 20 million people just did. So they are playing it, and that is what's getting them in, at least helping Xbox hit that number. And ideally, we could be happy that the game's relevant again, but I get it. It's not relevant in the context that people wanted it to be relevant again, which is, wake up, bro, it's 2007, and Halo 3 just launched.
Turns out that's never going to happen. So sorry, everyone. It's not going to happen. It's not 2007 anymore. You are not 18 years old playing Halo with all your buddies. You're, what is that? You are now 30. You are an adult with a real job, maybe a kid. So accept it, play some Halo free to play, enjoy it.
Oh, damn, Bruce. You almost turned me into a skeleton with that. You're right, though. You're right.